Hi friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Missing Stamps video. Today we're going to be making an interactive card, but let's talk about what we're using first. We have the Alice's Adventure stamp set. I haven't used this one before, but I love that there is such a big line of Alice stamps. I have just a few of them, but I would love to get more because they're so cute, lots of great sentiments, and then we also have some matching dies. And like I said, we're going to make it interactive, so we're using the Snap and Slide by Pearblossom Press, and then we're going to use this Slide and Spin die set. We just need one of the dies from that set, and we'll show you, or I'll show you when we get to it, because it's a little bit different than what you may have seen before. So we're going to do that. We're going to go ahead and get started. I've got a couple pieces of mixed media cardstock. Those both measure 4¼ by 5½ inches, and I have put those into my makeshift splatter box. And I'm going to use 3 different colors of Distress Sprays and Distress Oxide Sprays. We've got Tumbled Glass and Speckled Egg for our Distress Spray stains. And then for our Distress Oxide Spray, we have Salty Ocean. And so you see there's a lot of white there. This is a process. If you've never done these kind of backgrounds before, they're so much fun, and you always end up with something a little bit different. So we're just going to talk about the different things that we're going to do in between. And then we're also going to hit it with our heat tool. So you're not going to see me doing much of that, but a lot of the time is actually drying. I want these to be good and dry so that I've built up layers of color. And so that's really what I'm doing. I'm using this Teflon sheet. I'm spritzing those colors back on top of there, mixing that around with my fingers, and then sticking the papers right into those colors just so I can, get different texture all over that background. And again, hit it with the heat tool when it's nice and dry. We can spray water. We're also going to, I'm not going to show you every bit of the process because it does take a little bit of time, but they're so fun to do. And here you have the end result that I decided to stop with. I like these. I don't need all of that, but I definitely need most of it. We're going to trim some of that down. All right, we're going to stamp out our image. And we're using some Express It cardstock, and I'm inking that up with some Black Widow Stellar ink. And then we're going to color that with our Olo markers, which are alcohol markers. And I'm trying to put those colors up on the screen for you. This is super simple coloring because she's actually kind of got smaller parts to her, so you don't need to go too crazy with shadowing and shading if it's not really your jam. I'm doing a little bit of that. I'm also struggling too. I don't know, for whatever reason, I colored right outside the lines here. Just went right for it, I guess. And I started to color her socks that color and then changed my mind. I think I even colored over her headband using the yellow colors and then went back in with those blue colors. I'm telling you, today was a day. But we got her, we're getting her colored up. I'm going to, try and blend out some of that darker stuff. I've brought in the colorless blender, which is not really an eraser. It just pushes that color back. So you just have to kind of keep working with it. You can oversaturate your paper, which is very possible, but I'm not too worried about her. She's going to be on the move. And so if I've got some mistakes in there, I mean, that's just me, friends, because it's a handmade card, so nothing is perfect when it comes to how I make it. I just don't take it too seriously. Yeah, would I love for it to be perfect? Sure, but I can count on one hand probably how many cards were perfect in the thousands that I've made. So don't take yourself too seriously in these. Just have fun, color, have a good time. If you took the time to make someone a card and send that off to them, they're not going to be nitpicking. They're going to be like, this is really incredible. Somebody thought of me and sent me a handmade card. That's pretty incredible. So yeah, don't be hard on yourselves. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stamp out the sentiment. I will end up trimming, fussy cutting around that because there isn't a die for the sentiment that said curiosity often leads to trouble. But we are going to die cut Alice out. I also decide, and you don't see it, but I die cut her, or that same die I used on some heavy cardstock to put behind her, because the key here is having you want these to be a little bit heavy. All right, so just keep that in mind, and I'll talk about it a little bit more. I'm off the screen, but all I'm really doing is just trimming the edge up just to make it look not so straight, because that's supposed to look like a wave. I don't want it to be too wavy, but I do want it to have a little bit of a wave to it. And then I'll bring in some of that Salty Ocean Distress ink. And then we're just going to use a blending brush and blend that on those edges. That'll define the edges a little bit more. And then you can really see what we're talking about there. And I'm going to also do it on this piece. So this piece is going to end up, we're going to use the whole piece. So that was 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. We're going to glue that down to a card base that measured 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and was scored at 4 1/4. It will be a top folding A2 size card. And the reason I decided to use just the whole sheet, because some of it will be covered, is that you might be able to see some of that blue from the side. And so I just want to make sure that you can see it. Now this is the piece we are going to trim down. I'm just kind of measuring to see how much of it I need to cut off. And then we can save that for another card because it's a significant amount. But yeah. All right, so that's where our wave is going to go. And so now we have to work on the mechanism. So this is the die I'm going to use. It has a little cutout hole at the bottom. And I suggest cutting this out a few times, like 2-3 times. You want this to be heavy as well. So I cut it out just twice. If I were to do it again, I'd probably do it a third time just to make sure that it's good and heavy. And I'm gluing those two pieces together. Then I'm going to take the Snap and Slide from Pearblossom Press. There is a male and female side. And we're just going to pop that into the hole that is on this little die or die cut. And that's where it's going to sit. Typically, these little Snap and Slides will slide all over the place. But I want this one to stay put because the whole point is for Alice to just move back and forth and not for her to spin around or anything like that. So I do have 2 of the sticky spots. And I'm going to glue Alice down on top of the die cut. And again, I don't show you, but I glue another thick piece of that same die cut, like of her, behind her because I want her to be heavy. And I'm putting one of those sticky spots on the back of that Snap and Slide, and we'll stick it down. And so now it's down, and you can see how she is just going to teeter back and forth. And then I'm bringing in some 3mm foam tape, and this is actually going to need to be doubled up. Now, typically I wouldn't do that if I were just using the Snap and Slide on something that was going to slide around, but because it's staying put, I'm going to go ahead and peel off that release paper, and we're going to double up the foam tape. Easy to do. And then the next part we need to do is we need to find how far we want her to slide from left to right. So I'm going to kind of put her down where I want her, and then I'll put my foam tape down because the mechanism will hit the foam tape, and that's where it'll stop. So once again, we'll just trim that down and we'll peel off that release paper and double that up. And then of course we have to do that on the other side. So I'm just going to measure how far I want her to slide to the other side. And then we'll put our foam tape down. Peel off the release paper and double it up. I do end up putting a couple more tiny pieces on both of those sides just to make sure that everything is secured. And so I'm looking at that going, I can add a little bit more. So I just add a couple tiny pieces, and of course I have to double those up as well. Not real big. All right, and then we can start peeling off the release paper. We did put one more sticky spot on our Snap and Slide, and then we peel off all that release paper and we can put our wave down on top. And she's gonna toss and turn in her little bottle, which is so cute. And now we'll go ahead and adhere down our sentiment to the front of our card. And then I do bring in some embellishments. These are rainbow drops. What I do suggest is that if you're planning to put any sort of embellishment down, you do need to be cognizant of where you put them because her sliding around may hit those. I got lucky, it worked out fine, but take a look. She slides around, she's bouncing around in that bottle. How fun is that? Oh, I love how this turned out. And I hope you do too. If you do, please hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Miss Ink Stamps has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.